Afternoon, everybody. My name is Ryan Wilk. I'm an attorney with Reddy Neumann PC here in Houston, Texas. I wanted to talk with everyone for a few minutes about visa-free travel to the United States. We call this ESTA. What ESTA stands for is the Electronic System Travel Authorization. It's through the Department of State's Homeland Security's visa waiver program. And what it does is it allows the citizens of, I think, 39 countries to travel to the United States visa-free for up to 90 days at a time. This ESTA authorization, it's good for 2 years, and it allows for travel up to 90 days at a time. To obtain this ESTA authorization, it's an online application. You can pretty much Google ESTA application. It'll take you right to the DHS's website. You'll put in, your biographical information, some passport information, and typically within about 72 hours, you'll get your response from the Department of State telling you that you can or you cannot travel without obtaining a visa. And so once you get this approval, it kind of acts as a boarding foil. You'll be able to get on your plane and all that. Without a visa, you'll show up at the U.S. border, and you'll still need to be inspected, meaning that they're going to make sure that you're not a criminal, that you're not trying to enter the United States for employment reasons, things like that. And then you'll be admitted into the country. Typically, you can think of it as a tourist visa or a business tourist visa without actually having to go to the consulate and get this visa, having to go through the interviews and all that. You go online, do the quick ESTA, the Electronic System Travel Authorization application, and like I said, within about 72 hours, you'll have the approval. So sort of what are things that we need to think about, things that we need to remember if we're trying to utilize ESTA travel? One is it's good for 2 years, but that means, so if you were approved today, for the next 2 years, you'll be able to show up at the US border, and more likely than not, they'll allow you in. Now, each stay can only be 90 days at a time. And so as long as you're coming and going and your stays are not more than 90 days at a time, the government will have no problem and they'll allow you in more or less like a tourist. So that's most important. If you do stay even a day over that 90 days, you run into two consequences. One is that it's effectively going to cancel your ESTA authorizations for life. So meaning even if you stay 24 hours past when you were supposed to, it's likely that your ESTA entitlements will be gone for life and you will need to obtain a visa, tourist or whatever it may be, to enter the United States in the future. If you stay 1 day past, up to 180 days past, you're fine. You don't accrue any penalties. If you stay more than 180 days, you reach what we call an unlawful presence bar for 3 years. And if you stay for more than a year without this lawful presence, then you're barred from the country for quite a while. And so primarily, it's important to remember when you're allowed to stay and when you have to leave. Whenever you come into the country, you'll be given what's called an I-94, and that's going to tell you exactly the date that you have to leave. Now, if you maybe find yourself in a situation where you're not able to leave by that 90th day, by maybe day 75 or 80, you do need to contact USCIS and request what they call satisfactory departure. So essentially what you do before the 90 days expires, you call the government and you say, hey, I'm having some sort of issue. They'll call you in for an appointment where they'll take your fingerprints and things like that. And they'll essentially give you a stamp or an authorization that's going to allow you to stay typically about 30 extra days without accruing any penalty. I talked about the penalties for overstaying a few moments ago. If you get this, what they call satisfactory departure, you don't have to worry about that. And so ESTA travel is a great way for those people generally from the United Kingdom, from the European Union, and some other countries that we might call nations, favored nation status, trading countries. And so a lot of folks, Indians and Chinese particularly, aren't going to be eligible for these ESTA entitlements. But if you are holding a passport from the UK or a lot of the EU countries, you're going to be able to apply for this ESTA, and like I said a few moments ago, within about 42 to 78 hours, I should say 48 to 72 hours, you'll be getting that authorization and you'll be able to show up in the United States. So just to recap, ESTA allows for visa-free travel. You apply for it online with a nominal fee. It's a quick turnaround. There's no interviews involved. It's good for 2 years. That means you can come for up to 3 months at a time, come and go as you see fit. It's important that you are not overstaying that ESTA, and if you do run into the end of those 90 days, it's really important to find a route either out of the country or speak with an attorney to find out what needs to be taken care of to get this satisfactory departure acknowledgement from the United States. And as always, if you do have any immigration questions, I do always advise it's reach out to a competent immigration attorney, and I'm sure that they'll be able to give you the best answers available. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.